The Onyx Boox Leaf 2 is a drastic change from the first gen. Gone away is the cookie-cutter slate layout, and is now employing more of a copycat approach that a lot of companies in the industry have been doing. Yes, this looks like an Oasis, and actually even more like an iReader Ocean. But imitation is the most sincerest form of flattery. However, what is different is that this unit, even though it is being billed as an ebook reader, is fully loaded. It's got stereo speakers, physical page turn buttons, Android 11 with Google Play, and an SD card slot, which is becoming a thing of the past. So let's dive into this latest release by Onyx Boox, starting with the UI. First thing first, if you didn't believe us that it looks like an iReader, that looks identical to an iReader. More so than the Oasis, actually. But the thing I appreciate about the Onyx is that it's completely squared off, which is really nice because a lot of companies, iReader included, that try to emulate the Oasis always do this weird kind of bump thing. It does make the unit nice and thin, but it adds this gigantic bulk at the back of the unit that a lot of people don't actually like. This is the home screen. On bigger Onyx products, they put this navigation bar on the side. They put it at the bottom here because it just makes the most sense. If you drop the top down, you get the control center and the front light, and that's the first 2/3 and that's the 1/3 at the bottom. I would have liked to see them expand that a little bit more because there's about a full inch of wasted space on the bottom, but that's neither here nor there. We will turn the glow lights off for now and show you that a little bit later on. Now this is said, as we said at the beginning, to be their ebook reader. You might be thinking the Poke and the Poke 4 and the Poke 3 is kind of an ebook reader, but it's not. That's just a micro tablet. This one, actually, they've gone away from the peripheral case. They've added the physical page turn buttons to the unit itself. They are intending for this to be an ebook reader. So that's where this kind of stands. If you click the store, you're going to go over to the store. We'll connect the Wi-Fi in a second. If you go storage, this is going to be your device hard drive, so to speak, where all your images and documents and music is going to be. You have apps, which yes, you do have Google Play. However, unlike the Tab Ultra and the Nova Air 2, this does not have out-of-the-box Google Play. It does have Google Play, but you have to go to App Management. You have to go down here to enable Google Play, click on the GSF ID, bind it to your account, sign in, wait a day, and then you get Google Play. Does it work? Absolutely, you get Google Play, no problem. But there is a huge workaround, and it's not out of the box like the later Onyx stuff, like the BIGME stuff, etc. This is your settings menu where you have a bunch of stuff here. We're not going to go over everything. It's just kind of business as usual things, system display, password accounts, etc. Gesture settings, however, is something we're going to go over because there's no buttons on Onyx devices. For the most part, there's physical patron buttons here, but most often than not, Onyx products don't have physical buttons, not even a home button anymore since the Nova 3 color. So how do you do things? Well, you can turn these off or on respectively, side off or on or bottom off or on. Bottom, you can do e-ink center down there. You can do back home down there, and back down there, like that. I've touched the screen by accident. If you swipe the edge 1 centimeter on that side, it'll do the volume. The edge 1 centimeter on this side, it'll do the warm light. That's really cool, and you need to know that because there's no home button. And even though this has physical patron buttons, neither of them go home. So that's kind of what happens with that. You can actually change the side buttons, and this one that says side key settings will only be on the Leaf 2 because it's the only one that they designed this menu for. You can say nothing if you want long press, and you can do the short presses to be page turn or volume. So you would turn this to volume if you're using something like YouTube Shorts or Instagram Stories or something like that. Something you really want a lot more instant volume access. You can use the side gesture, but this is more tactile, and they're there and they're assignable. You can assign them to do different things. Well, there sure as Santa Claus ain't any note-taking on this unit, so let's look at the reading experience. We can turn pages with our finger by swiping or tapping, and we have, yes, the physical page turn buttons, finally! On the Leaf 1, they had an add-on case that gave you a magnet snap to a rail that added the physical page turn buttons via a peripheral case. This one does not. This one has them on board. You cannot do any long press to speed through the book, unfortunately. It doesn't have any rapid page system, and when you double tap, it just goes the 2 pages. It doesn't actually jump to the next chapter like Barnes & Noble does. Overall, it's a very good reading experience. It looks great, and you don't have any worry about functionality in terms of speed or settings, because Onyx has you covered. Not only is their reading experience very robust, they give you Google Play, which means you can download anything. You can download Aldeco, Moon Plus Reader, you can download the Amazon Kindle app, and if this or any of those aren't fast enough for you, you go over to the e-ink center to speed everything up, which we'll show you in a little bit, because the reading experience actually has their own set of refresh information. If you go over to here, you can click on refresh. Now this takes you kind of beyond the regular X mode, speed mode A2. You actually get normal, regal, and then the icon for speed mode. So this is all going to be just a different set of parameters, and you can change the refresh rate here and do full refresh or a deep refresh, and that's if you have a lot of picture elements. You can also drag to refresh, full refresh after 3 seconds, speed mode. There's a lot going on here, and a lot kind of contradicting each other, because you have normal mode with a speed, and then you have don't refresh, and you can counteract that with a refresh rate. It takes just a lot of kind of tinkering if you want it to work just right. So it's nice that they give you the options, but it's a little convoluted and it's kind of complicated, and you don't really have to worry about any of that if you use the Amazon app, because if you use another application, for example, we go home and then we go down to the drop down and click e-ink center, you just get your regular refresh modes. You get speed, A2, and X mode. Anything south of a 10.3 inch, which is legally A5 paper, you don't necessarily want to use PDFs. Why? Because it's terrible. It's so small. It's a small experience. In fact, if I grab my smartphone, put it in frame, you'll see that it's shorter than my smartphone, which, you know, dimensions splitting hairs aside, it's a small experience. And typically if you're using PDFs, you're using them for a reason, so you can display large canvases of information with different picture elements and text elements. Well, all that goes away when you have a small screen. Look at this. My hands are bigger than this. Now, can it do it? Yes, absolutely it can. Does it do it well? It looks great. And the page turns are so wonderful to have. A lot of people bash on page turn buttons. Why do you need them? Just swipe the page. There's a reason. Countless manufacturers from every line, from different corners of the globe, Pocketbook, who swears by them, still have page turn buttons. There's a distinct reason, because of the convenience, the familiarity, the lack of a learning experience. You might argue that a swipe isn't that much of a learning experience, but that's not the point. It's all those reasons and more to have these beautiful buttons just on the side and the other side as well, or like this if you're in landscape. There's so much fun to it. It adds personality, and it just pushes you out of the realm of making a cookie cutter slab with a black bezel. It just changes things up, and that's why you have them. That's the biggest draw about this product, is the expandable storage, the physical page turn buttons. I mean, if it wasn't for that, there'd be no reason not to get a Nova Air or a Poke 4. There's all these overlaps in the industry in each individual manufacturer's line of devices. There's the Kindle Basic encroaching on Paperwhite territory. There's this looking like basically everything else in the industry. So you need things that pop away from just the norm to change it up, because there is a changed landscape we're dealing with in the world of e-readers, and it certainly is more competitive than it's ever been. For manga, it's gonna depend on the way your file is formatted. EREADER does a decent job at formatting. It's just a little bit weird. It doesn't pin it to the corners quite as well as other applications might, but that's why they give you Google Play. That's why they give you the Onyx store, so you can really just make this what you want it, make it into whatever you want. It does have pinch and zoom, but it is actually off from factory. Typically, you have to go to the settings menu to reading settings and then turn pinch and zoom mode on, because a lot of people actually don't know it's over here in the settings menu, and the settings menu does have a lot of settings. For example, look at touch settings. Look at all the layouts where you can have the touch screen. You can have this weird prioritized L shape so you can touch here, here, or here for a page turn. You can have just the top bar. You can make your own. There's so much about an Onyx Boox that leaves it up to you to do everything that we can't cover it in 10 videos. The overall manga experience is good. It's going to be what you make of it, what the app you're going to download, but overall the quality is really high. You don't really need to pinch and zoom on manga because typically it is meant to be around the 7-inch screen size, so it's fine in that regard. Same with ebook reading. PDF's a different story, but overall the manga reading experience is going to be fine. It's going to be comfortable. They have this wide bezel on the side so your fingers don't encroach on the actual inner bezel, aka this one surrounding the screen or the screen itself. We thank Onyx for their app store. Of course, it's great that it's there, but there's no reason it should be here. For this aside, you have Google Play, which has millions of applications. This one has 45. Now there is a benefit to the note-taking devices in that they have certain apps like OneNote that works really well with the latency of the pen. But on an ebook reader, all that goes away. There's no real reason to have this here, other than maybe you don't need to sign in to use it, but even then you don't get to take advantage of all that Google Play gives you, like using your account, constant updates. There's not really a big reason to use the App Store. However, what does make sense is they have a store, which is a bookstore. And that's really cool because you can go into here and you can get a lot of public domain books. And this is nice because if you don't know how to start reading, at least they give you a step in the right direction. What confuses me is that it's one of the 5 main things at the bottom, which I kind of feel that it shouldn't be because it's such a kind of basic addition stepping stone into reading, whereas if they wanted, they could put something of a little more note like the browser there, because for it to be one of the 5 things, you're meant to go here, but all you get is really just these kind of public domain copyright free books, in which case it's just like Bible stuff and religious stuff and books made 100 years ago. It's nice that it's there. Is it all that necessary? That leaves it up to interpretation. Something we never really talk about on Onyx products is the system display, and since we don't have note-taking to worry about, we can squeeze this in. They allow you to change the entire system layout, essentially, from the font size to the font style. You can change it from various styles, even Chinese text. You can do a full fresh frequency. It'll be every 5 taps it'll refresh. Every 1 tap the screen will flash. You can set it to never, that you would only rely on you resetting it yourself. You can change the custom home screen to be whatever you want out of these 5 here. You can go back and you can do only display icons of function tabs. So if you click on that, you have no more of the actual words. You'll just have the icons, which is kind of taking a little bit of a different approach. And you can expand the top bar by pulling down. So there's a lot you can actually do, and it doesn't stop there. There's things like servers, there's protection, there's gesture settings, the user manual, there's network settings, a ton of power settings as well. In fact, to the point where you actually have to scroll to get more stuff. There is a large scale level of customization on just about every part of this unit. Alright, that looks blue. That's because it is blue. It looks terrible. But that's the inherent nature of glow lights in general, and that's why warm light is so absolutely necessary in today's age. You can go like that and turn it white, and that solves the problem, and it most definitely does. You can even turn it down and go orange if you want to save your eyes, and honestly, that is way easier on your eyes. I'm just looking at it right now while doing this, and it's so nice on your eyes. It's such a big difference in that blue light. There's some contention as to whether blue light is really bad. Well, the less intense the light, the better it is for you, regardless of what you think about the whole melanin thing. It's way better. If you want to, you can actually link these as well to get an even spread of light, and all you would have to do is worry about the intensity. So glow lights, if you don't know, are no longer really front light. They're LEDs built into either the top, bottom, left, or right, or combinations of them that shoot into a gel layer. We've proven this on teardowns. I mean, that's how it works. It's not a secret. It shoots into a gel layer, so the gel layer has no choice of its own to just simply illuminate properly and perfectly. So you don't have to worry about those old days of the Nook Simple Touch Glow Light where you get this weird, dull smudge in the middle with all these dark, puffy edges and tears in the screen. Glow light technology has come a long way. This looks fantastic. There's no issues whatsoever. You have full control over it. There's not really much else to say. In the Onyx lineup, they actually don't advertise any of their units as ebook readers, rather as tablets running e-paper screens. This definitely hits all the right notes for being a capable e-reader. Not only that, it can do everything else under the sun. We've seen much overlap in the Onyx lineup over the past couple generations, but this one stands out just a little bit more than the others. For GoodyReader.com, this is Peter.